Making bread. Take one. I make bread on Monday. It's currently Saturday. When I make bread, I gotta plan it out 2 days ahead. Today's Saturday. I'm making the leaven. Tomorrow, I'll do the second 2 stages and then let it sit overnight. So on Monday, I can do the 4th stage, which is bake the bread. First things first, we gotta mix the water and the starter. I've got a pretty active starter right now. I'm pretty pumped about it. So I put this on here. Because we are making bread in a van, we don't have the royalty of always having hot water. You want your water temperature to be around 80 degrees. So I mix about 100 grams of that, which was slightly less than boiling, with 100 grams of cold water. And you're supposed to get around 200. And then after that, put about a tablespoon of this in there, your starter. It's about a tablespoon. You gotta mix this up. And then you need 100 grams of wheat flour and 100 grams of bread flour. 200 grams total. As you can see, I'm not super accurate. I'm like usually within a couple grams of everything. And then I mix it up. Oh, now I'm just washing my hands off in our wash bin. Really helps save down on water. And then I just set this, cover with a towel, in the warmest place you can in your van. When I lived in a house, I used to put it above a refrigerator, or like the cabinet above the fridge. It was like perfect.
Oh, that's the perfect temp.
Good morning. So when I wake up the next morning, after we mixed it all last night, I check on it. It should be airy and bubbly. Last night our heater went out in the middle of the night, and so for several hours it was like 50 degrees in here, so I didn't get the rise I really wanted out of my leaven. And this happened multiple times before. What I do is I just toss a towel on it, and luckily it's a nice day out, and I put it in the front window of the van. It usually heats up in like an hour and a half. We'll check back on it. It does pass the float test, which we will go over. Then you can skip this whole step. It's been like an hour and a half, 2 hours, so we're gonna check on our leaven, and to see if it's ready, we do a thing called a float test, which is essentially taking a tablespoon of your leaven, put in some water. If it floats, then it's ready to make some bread. This is always kind of nerve-wracking for me, because it's like, did your child do good at school? I don't know, we're about to see. So you little scoop it, drop her in. It's like a half floater. I would like to personally put it back in the window and let it heat up a little bit. But I want like a full-on true float, like nothing touching the bottom. We're gonna cover back up, time will tell, we'll be back. This is my bread book. It's like my bread Bible. I tried to make bread and pizza dough for like 4 years, and with like Google and YouTube and all that, and I failed. And I had a friend that recommended this book to me. I'm gonna recommend it to you. Go ahead and just buy it. It's got lots of good recipes. So it's been about 3.5 hours now, and I've had the leaven out on the dashboard. Hopefully this time it'll pass the float test. The unveiling. She looks like she's a little more gelatinous, a little airy. You can see it's like a little puffy. Gonna grab something that doesn't have like the crusted on it and drop it in. Floater.
Yay!
Put that little glob back in there because I like to save all of it. And now that we've passed the float test, we truly have an active leaven, which is necessary for good airy bread and rise. Now it's time for step 2. We have to mix everything. Today I'm using King Arthur bread flour. Because of COVID-19 pandemic, all the bread flour has been gone for weeks. You can use any bread flour, it all tastes good. Lucky to just have this. We got whole wheat flour, which is also King Arthur. Empty bowl, scale, our leaven that's active, and I got some hot water because the van, it's kind of still chilly out, and you want like around 80 degree or like bath water is like where I usually go. First step, zero out my scale, and you want 700 grams of water. 706. Next we gotta put 200 grams of leaven. Usually about 2/3 of this gelatinous monster. I'm gonna save this last little chunk because you always want to save a little bit. This now becomes your starter. And then you mix it up. Currently still mixing, and then see all these little balls? So I'm just scooping those out because they're kind of hardened dough from the crust on that. They'll never really develop, and they'll just be like these little doughy chunks. So it's nice milky looking consistency. I'm gonna zero out my scale again, and I'm gonna start adding my bread flour. Then you wanna add 900 grams, 100 grams of wheat flour. This bowl contains 700 grams of water, around 80 degrees, 200 grams of leaven, 100 grams of whole wheat flour, 900 grams of bread flour. Now you gotta mix it all up. Bread spatula is gonna come in handy. Zing. This takes a while because I do it by hand. And to actually mix it up, I usually come outside because the flour does get kind of everywhere when you first start. Oh, hi, sweetie. You gotta wait till it's cooked, honey. You just start mixing it in. I'm sure there's like 1,000 different ways to do this by hand. My tips for mixing: keep scraping the edges and mix it all in. You're gonna get a good mix if you just keep going. 5 minutes probably of just moving, scrape it from the bottom, pull the top. Don't be afraid to just like ditch the dough spatula and just get your hands in there. Mixing for like 2.5 to 3 minutes. It's getting to the point where it's a little tougher. It's kind of fighting back on me. No like pockets of dry flour anymore. So it's getting pretty good. You can tell it's even starting to bond. It's developing like gluten strands already. It's starting to really want to stick together and getting a little tougher. Now that I mix that up, scrape the sides of your bowl. Get all those goodies. It's already forming like this nice ball. The tough part, then you gotta get this off your hand. Back inside, I'm gonna try to get the rest of this dough off my hands. Now that we have all of our ingredients mixed up in this nice beautiful bowl of dough, we're gonna wait 30 minutes before the next step, which is to mix a little bit of water, a little bit of salt in. Whenever the dough is resting, you always cover it with a towel so that no crust forms on top. So as I mentioned earlier, you want to save a little bit of your leaven because this is now becoming your starter. I'm going to mix it in with my other jar. That's how I keep my starter. Just kind of mix it all in there, even some of the crusty parts. Usually there's a little bit more.
Yes.
So this is my sourdough starter. It's pretty active. It's really important and necessary to have a sourdough starter to make sourdough bread. It's a bacteria that's alive. It replaces commercial yeast, gives it the sour taste. This has like a long bulk fermentation, like 4 to 6 hours, but tons of like robust sour flavor. I've had my sourdough starter for about 8.5 years. I've mixed it about 2 to 4 times a week just because I make a lot of bread. If you're not making bread, you just leave it dormant in the fridge and you mix it once a week. You need an active starter to make bread. It's kind of like a mythical creature to me. There's like all these theories about sourdough starters taking on flavors from like the environment. Brought mine like around the world with me. Been to Japan, been to Iceland, Amsterdam, Florida. Every time you mix it, you get a little bit of bacteria off your hands and out of the air and out of the flour that you use there and the water, and it becomes like your own flavors. So if you want, you can have some of my sourdough and then you can mix it yourself, and like in 2 years it's gonna taste totally different than mine. So it's been 30 minutes, and so now it's time to mix in your salt and your water and any other flavors that you want to add into your bread. It's really like Charlie Chocolate Factory. I don't know where that came from. So we gotta go to our spice rack. I'm gonna go with herbs de Provence. So you need 50 grams of water. I need 20 grams of salt. Mix it all in. Already you can see that the dough is like becoming very stretchy and beautiful and fun to play with. Makes me a really proud father. Now I'm gonna mix in the herbs de Provence, a good like floral mix, 5-6 grams. And I mix all that in. Whoa. It's almost like a French countryside. Take it out of the bowl and let it see the world a little bit. Next up, now we got this all mixed, it's ready for the bulk fermentation, which is necessary for a sourdough because it has that natural yeast in it. It takes a long time to rise and develop its flavor. The dough transform in like a 4 to 6 hour period. So pick it up, pop it in your proofing jar. Whoop. It's always good to note like where it is. 1.5 quarts almost. A nice warm setting. It's gonna almost double in size. It's out here where it's so cold, I only get like 1.5. Put a cap on it. I just go ahead, throw this in the front window where it's warm, and I let it sit up there for like 46 hours. Every like 30 to 45 minutes, you gotta come back and give it a turn. It's been about 45 minutes, so it's time for our first turn. Reach your hand in, grab the bottom of the dough, pull it up and over. I do that a couple of times to make sure I get the entire top surface area. Cap back on and put this in your warm spot to continue the bulk fermentation. It was getting a little cold out, so I had to put it up here where it's nice and warm. But it's time for our second turn because it's been about another 45 minutes. I like it a little more liquid looking, a little more smooth. You see air pockets in here and they develop kind of uneven if you don't mix it. A second turn, pull it down, up around, and pop it back in. That's it. All turned. Cap back on. Put it back up. It's been about 6 hours. As you can see, we got some rise. Not as much as we typically do. And I definitely think it contributes to like the cold of last night. It ends up as like a denser bread. But that is the life of a van bread maker. So we're gonna go forward with it. I'm super pumped. Let's see what we get. It smells delicious.
It does smell really good.
Put a little bit of this bread flour on this table right here. Go ahead and scoop it out. Give it a little bit of shape so I get a better idea of where the middle actually is. Split it down the middle. That's what I chose. Kind of scoop it to the side. Scoop it to the other side. What I do right now is like a little bit of a pre-shape. Kind of shape it into just like a round, just folding it up on itself. And if you want to just get your hand into it. So same with the other one. Picking it up, putting it down. So I'm just gonna fold it onto itself and then forms a nice little ball. Now it's getting a little sticky. I can tell that it's kind of sick of me working with it. So once I get this little ball, I let it just rest. Again, it's getting a little sticky now, sticking in my hands. So I'm gonna use the dough peel, give it one final like swoop. And just before I let them rest for 30 minutes, I sprinkle them with a little bit, and then I cover them with a towel so they don't get that crust. The pre-shape, it's looking good, and now it's on to the final shaping, and then we're gonna put them in these bowls and they're gonna sit overnight. A little extra, just a little sprinkle. You don't want a ton. Try to lift it off the table a little bit. This is the biggest surface I have to work on, but then you fold it onto that side, put it long ways, pull it, fold it, fold it again, then pull it. And you're just kind of building tension and making like a little package. And then you fold this side, and then you fold this one. And now all your seams, kind of like in the middle, and just keep folding it. You kind of fold them all like together, and then you put that seam facing down, folding it and rolling it and folding it and rolling it. It's like gently doing this motion and turning. And see how high this is? It's just building tension in the bread, in the dough. And then compare it to this one where we started. I let them rest for like a minute or two, and I sprinkle them again. Prep one bread bowl. How I'm gonna do it this time, I'm gonna put a good amount of flour on here, and this one is going in. And then I flour the top. Cover it with a towel and put it aside. this. Now you got your 2 loaves ready to cook in the morning, and you want to put them in a fridge overnight for like 12 hours.
You excited about the bread tomorrow?
So excited. Good morning.
Hey, sweetie.
We started the oven like a half an hour ago. 500 degrees with the cast iron in here. This is my little heat dispersal because I got a kind of a hot spot in the middle and it burns. I take out the bread right out here to acclimate to room temperature. The oven's ready. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of brown rice flour so it doesn't stick to the pan. Pop it in. And then you need to score it. Low angle. I do a little square. That go in there. And you want to throw it right back in for 20 minutes. That's time. And then you pull the top off.
Oh, wow.
Give it a little shake so it doesn't stick. Pop it back in.
Yep.
Set timer for another 20 minutes. I have about 10 minutes left of this loaf baking. So at this point, I'm gonna take out the other loaf that's in the fridge and let it acclimate to the room temperature again.
Good morning.
Karen,
Happy birthday.
Oh my god, that's beautiful.
The true test to see if it's done, give it a little knock. She's all cooked. Or you can cut it right away. But it's your choice.
Yay, birthday bread.
Steaming in that morning sun.
Like, maybe I'll just get back in bed with it.
Dude, you should. It's warm. It'll keep you warm.
That's a happy customer.
Why do you like to do them differently?
Because the first loaf didn't have a lot of rise, I think this like shaping helps it like trap a little bit more air on the bottom. Oh! Ooh, look at that ear!
She pretty.
Nice little turn.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that. Look at the lines.
Now that it's done, I pick it up and I put it on a cooling rack. Let that cool for like an hour before cutting it. But today, because I can't wait to see what's inside of it, I'm just gonna cut into it. It makes it so it doesn't cook fully because it's still steaming, it's still cooking for the next hour. And as you see, we'll cut into it, a bunch of steam's gonna come out. It smells so good. Nice even crust around the whole way. I love it. It's hot. Thanks for watching. Have some fun with it. Go cook, go try it, go fail. At the end of the day, you're gonna take 4 raw ingredients and make a delicious edible loaf of bread. Regardless of what it comes out like, stay positive, try it again. I can make bread in a van. You can make bread at home. Everyone's gonna love it.